Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hand. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm a spiritual healer and teacher. Dina?
And I'm Dina Scungio, and I'm a student of spirituality. I have nothing to read, so we're winging it.
Okay. Okay, and this is our 190th show. 190. Whoa. And we have with us tonight Gregory Besek, who's a shamanic priest, religious mystic, and writer. Welcome.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
He has been on with us before, but it was a long time ago, and he's got so much more to tell us. Let me tell you a little bit about Gregory. He's a lifelong spiritual practitioner and religious mystic. Raised a Roman Catholic, Greg began his extended spiritual training in 1972, becoming a solitary monk and taking the Hindu, how do you say that? Brahmachara vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Ooh. In 1974, he was accepted into a Hindu ashram where he lived for 5 years as a monastic. What is that? A monk. A monk.
Monastery.
Under the tutelage of Guru Maharaji of Hardwar, India. Hardwar, India. Here he studied and practiced the essence of Hindu Vedic lifestyle of service, satsang, and meditation until 1980. And I'm probably murdering these words, but
okay.
you can. As a result of a spontaneous spiritual experience in the 80s, Greg was led into the mystic world of shamanism. During the next 20 years, he studied with many renowned individuals in this field, including Michael Harner of the Foundation of Shamanic Studies and Amma Bambo of Nepal, recognized as one of the 13 indigenous grandmothers of the world. He further studied with shamans of Peru, Tibet, Native American, Celtic, Korean, Romanian, that's Gypsy shamanism, and Mongolia.
Wow.
In 1994, Gregory began a teaching center called the Center Pole, whose guiding light was in keeping with ancient spiritual traditions alive. Through the Center Pole, he conducted hundreds of workshops, lectures, and seminars for people along the East Coast, helping those attending to follow their deepest desire, a oneness with their own heart. To deepen his spiritual experiences, Greg began exploring Zen Buddhism, becoming a precept holder. And what is that? A precept holder?
There's certain precepts or vows that you
vows,
take.
Okay. In the Zen Peacemakers Order, headed by Rashi Tetsujin?
Yeah.
Bernie Glassman.
Bernie Glassman.
He has also taken the refuge vows of Tibetan Buddhism from the Venerable Khensur, how do you say it, Rinpoche? Rinpoche. Lobsang Tenzin.
Good.
In 2008, he's taking a test here. I'm taking a test. In 2008, Gregory began and continues to work at Wesleyan University in the Department of Religious and Spiritual Life, where he is the coordinator of the Vespers program, evening prayers, and where he lectures and teaches about the spiritual realities. Greg has practiced and studied numerous forms of meditation for over 40 years, which include yoga, Vedanta, Buddhist, Tantric, and Christian traditions. He partakes yearly in extended silent meditation retreats to help further awareness. Okay, so let's start with your background. Okay, we read all this, but what made you, okay, this is what we usually ask our guests. What made you get into this? It was awakening. What made you start all this? Change your life? What'd you do before this?
Yeah, you just live life as you go along, and certain things happen. And sometimes you reflect on these things when they're, usually when you get knocked off your feet,
Yeah.
you start reflecting. Usually if things are going well, you keep going. Get knocked off your feet, you look around, you see which direction you're in.
That's true.
And you want to continue down that road, or are there other possibilities?
Right.
And so, like many people, I grew up in a troubled childhood, and so I was asking a lot of questions as I grew, and I was Roman Catholic and held very close to the church at that point, And as things kept on, life happened. I was going to be a priest when I was young.
Oh.
And then I, went through
Catholic
puberty,
priest?
and then that stopped. I realized there was something else going on here.
Yeah, puberty. Oh, that'll do it.
That does it. But then after having some experiences there, I realized that I was kind of looking in the wrong direction. And that's when I took a break. I kind of quit. I became a solitary monk then for almost 3 years. And that's when I took the vows of brahmacharya, which is poverty, chastity, and obedience. And that gave me a great time to just reflect. I realized that looking around me, it seemed like people were moving very quickly, but no one seemed to know what they were doing. No one wanted to have a meaningful conversation.
Right.
They were just ingesting what was being offered without asking, without looking, without having any kind of analysis. So I stopped. And it was difficult to drop away, but once I did, I found my home again. It was like, here we go, So, at some point, I think, you think you have choices, and then you kind of reach a place of choicelessness. There's like, no more choices, this is it. And you realize that it comes out of your heart. It never comes out of your head.
Yeah.
The answers we
That's
want
true.
always come out of our heart.
Right.
And when your heart starts singing that way, and it just, it puts the mind in its place, and then all of a sudden you hear the mind going, yes, also.
Florida.
Yes.
Wow.
And so I was 22 at that point, I think.
22. Oh.
Yeah. So, and it's been rolling on ever since.
It's something to find that at 22. A lot, like you said, something happens in your life and changes it, but usually it doesn't happen till later in life.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
it's
why
definitely young. It's just good.
I wanted to do something at Wesleyan University. I live in Middletown now, near Wesleyan, and I realized that's such a vital time in someone's life. Because once you get going, it's hard to put the brakes on. Once you start getting married and you start having children and you get a career going, it's, what happens is you'll take up religion a lot of times, or spirituality, as a hobby almost, or something that you add to your life. And this is something that really doesn't fly like that. It has to be your all. It has to be your foundation. Everything comes out of that. Like, yoga means to link up or to yoke, to your God or to your heart. And religion also, religio, means to link to the heart. And therefore, Christ said, first seek out the kingdom of heaven which is within you, and then all is added on. And all traditions speak of the same thing. And so, I've been seeing clients for many years, and a lot of times they come to me and they have their problems. I say, well, what do you want? They say, I want to be happy. So, well, how are you going to do that? And they say, well, I want to have a successful career, and I want this and that, and I want a successful marriage, and I want to have my kids excel, and they go on and on, whatever their dream is. And but I say, are you happy now? And they say no. And I say, well, then it's not going to happen when you get those things.
I was going to ask you, do most people who say that, are they finding that they're just completely unhappy with themselves?
They're just, it's hard. It's suffering, the Buddha calls dukkha. Dukkha is like suffering or anxiety. If we have an egocentric life, we're bound to suffering because we live a life in duality. And we're, as human beings, we're trying to find a nice balance for ourselves. But in a duality, things are always fluctuating, things are always moving. We're looking for a constant experience in a never fluctuating environment. And you just can't do it.
Right.
Once you get something okay, you try to keep it, and then something else goes off, and then something else. And it's frustrating, and you never feel safe, you never feel at home, you never feel at ease. And so, the lion and the lamb never lay down together. The lion usually eats the lamb.
Right.
That's the duality. So in a spiritual life, you have to understand there's a singularity. It's when the right and the left come together, the male and the female come together. Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra from the Buddha. The left and right, male, female, when they come together, that's when the lion and the lamb do not devour each other. That's when they can live happily, you know. And so all traditions talk of this, you know, and they talk in their own languages in their own way. And they have their own meditations, their own prayers, but they're all pathways leading you to something that's already existing inside of us. There's nothing that we have to find outside of us, which is when we have a dualistic life, everything seems to be outside of us. Whether we want the car, we want the job, we want the mate, you know, we want whatever it is.
Right.
And if we're, you know, and you're never going to, it's impossible to have a really stabilized and a beautiful life, you know, living in duality like that. You can, as they say in Hinduism, you can live in the world, but you're not of the world.
Right.
You know, and that not of the world has to be first and foremost. We have to see that we are not, you know, we just live, we're just here with a human form. This form is, you know, we were here 9, 10 years ago together. We've gotten older.
Right, right.
Last year I had 5 people that I knew pretty close to me. They all passed in the same month.
Oh my God.
You know, some younger, some a little older, you know. So we have got to look at this, you know, and life is a serious thing, but we've got to look at it with an inquisitive joy also, and just say, this is my life, and it's a beautiful thing.
If we keep
Yeah.
filling our life or looking for the next happiness in outside things and material things and on, it's what somebody once said, it's like a bottomless pit. It never gets filled because that is not going to fill you. Like you said, everything you need is inside of you, right? Find that first.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to give us a stabilized life. That stabilizes us. You know, we use a lot of religious terms and spiritual terms and stuff, and we think, well, this is something that's beyond us. No, it's not. It's just practical. It's the most practical thing in the world to have a spiritual life, or to work with the subtle energies within inside of yourself, to understand your emotions. The energies, you know, emotions are energy in motion. It makes us feel, but we shouldn't grab onto them. You know, healing, you know, outside the box is the name of this show.
Right.
Really, the ego creates the box. And what we collect in our box is generally a lot of the stuff that, images and thoughts and beliefs that really restrict us. And we live within these boxes, you know? And these boxes hit up against other boxes. And, you know, we've got people in Washington, D.C. now that have certain boxes. We have boxes all over. Our neighbors have boxes. I've got a box, you know, which I'm always trying to dismantle, always. In Zen, they have a beautiful saying. It says, an apple can never be an apple until you realize it's not an apple. Once you realize that an apple is not an apple, then you can call it an apple.
Okay, I'm sure they're going to want you to explain that.
Well, what that means is that nothing is independent. Everything is dependent upon everything else. Everything here is dependent upon everything else around us, way beyond us, inside of us. That everything is constantly in flux, in movement, everything. And for an apple to exist, what we call an apple, we have to understand that it's just not an apple. It is the universe itself. It is the space it grows within. It is the seed. It is the tree. It is the sun. It is the water. It is the moonlight. It's all
I understand.
things. It's all things. Once you understand that,
Right.
once you have that correct view,
Yes.
you start breaking down your box. Then you can say, oh, it's just an apple. Then you're living in the world. Oh, have an apple. But your conscious understands this is the universe, that you yourself are the universe. You know?
Yeah.
When the Christians talk about the second coming, and actually Muslims talk about the second coming also, it's not, you know, we take these ancient stories and we apply them, we try to concretize them and say, well, we're going to take this spiritual story and apply it to a physical world, which is the wrong application. These are spiritual languages. Christ said, this is not, you know, my kingdom is not of this
That's
world.
right.
You know, it's not of this world, you know. And so we've got to see things the way they truly are, that these metaphors are meant to be taken internally, you know, that we are truly free. We think that we're not. This is why we have religions in some way. A spiritual path only lasts as long as your delusion exists. Once your delusion leaves you, you realize that you never went anywhere. You were just operating in a delusion. It's kind of like waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, I had a horrible dream. Well, that was terrible. Then you realize, well, wait a minute. Here I am. That was just play in my dream. I never went anywhere. It was just my play in my head, in the language of light. The inner light inside of us. So there is a light inside of us. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. A singularity, vision. In that singularity, there is all things within it. But in order to have peace, we have to know its essence, like the essence of the apple is all things. The essence of white light, all things dwell within that white light. This is why we have the nimbus or the auras around saints, is because they are illuminated within inside themselves. The language of light now becomes one. And everything resides within that. That the second coming is when I realize that. It's not going to come out of the sky. It's going to come down through me. My mind settling into my heart. That's the message of Christ. That's the message of all traditions, is that it's us, it's within us.
Yeah, when we get it, when we finally understand it.
Yeah.
Yes, I like the apple example, because when you were talking about the apple, I started to see the seeds and the thing, and then the sun that makes it grow, and then the water that's in it, and on, and it made it become magical and beautiful.
Sure.
You know?
It's a magical world.
Yeah, it is. When you look at things like that, it really is magical. Everything you look at, you can see the magic in everything, which makes us feel so good. Even people, everything.
Yeah, there's a feeling. There's a feeling of awe.
Yeah.
Once you see it, you just, just in awe of, like I was looking at the full moon last night. And it's like, oh, the moon's out, isn't it beautiful? I had to stop and go. Get out of my thought process, get out of my concepts, my running around, and just take some breaths and just look. You want to bow to it. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
I wanted to
thank
go
you.
away. And my job, a full moon means a busy night.
She's a paramedic.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
We don't like full moons.
People start to go off a little bit. Yeah, because
People must be drawn somehow to the
It's
changes
got a lot
with
of energy.
the moon.
Look what it does to the oceans.
There's a lot of psychological issues on this planet when there's a full
Sure,
moon.
we're a lot of water inside of us.
it
Now,
does.
I'm curious, with all the things that you've studied and you've learned, do you feel, I've always felt myself that every religion, every beliefs, they all have a piece of the pie, but not every one is the one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like there's just one thing that tells the entire story. Do you feel that way, or?
Yeah, no, each one has, each one's been started, it's kind of like a tree. The experience, we have to have an experience, and that's the trunk. And that's what I call shamanism. Shamanism is when you start seeing the spiritual world first and foremost. That then, that you're in the world, but you're not of the world. Now it's kind of like we live like this, and we live on top of the physical world. When this world gets turned upside down, we realize, oh, everything does have a spirit to it. The universe is alive and teeming with spirits. And I have a spirit to me, or I have a subtle energy that's functioning, That's not dependent upon the physical. It's just not dependent upon it, And so when we get that turnaround, we start, and so now the spirit comes first, your heart comes first, your soul comes first, Then things start shifting.
She sort of raised me on that. Actually, ever since I was a kid, I was always drawn to shamanism first. For some reason, I'm always drawn to that.
Shamanism is seen as the mother of all religions.
Oh, okay.
It gives birth to all religions. And so if you look at a tree, the tree is the experience. Without the experience, you're just believing in something, blind belief. And blind belief can only take you so far.
That's true.
But out of the experience, like the trunk grows, you start getting branches off this way and that way. And that's when you get Hinduism, and you get Buddhism, and you get Christianity, and you get Judaism, and you get, all these other traditions that they're like branches. Now, you can hang out in the branch and say, oh, I have the best view. I have the only view when you're looking out. But if you look back in, you see they're all connected to the trunk. And what some traditions do, because they don't teach this. They say, well, look, we're the best when it's only our way.
Right.
You know,
They do.
It's kind of like, you know, when I had a guru, you know, they say if you have a guru, then puja is your life. Puja means worship. That means that is your path. That you worship the guru. You hold on to the feet of the guru, because the guru is going to light the way for you. The guru just acts as a mirror back to you. It doesn't mean there's no other gurus. They don't say, like, you know, you're gonna rot in hell if you leave this. And it's just like, no. Then, but, you know, hold true to your faith. You know, to your path is strictly for you. You know, but you should find your path. It shouldn't be given to you.
Right. Right.
You know, you have to test it. You have to test everything. You have to be skeptical. That's why when people come to me,
Very,
you know,
yeah.
you know, you have to be skeptical. Be skeptical of me. Be skeptical of everything I say. Don't just say, "Oh, it sounds good. I'm going to believe in that." No, go home, write it out, look at it, investigate it. It's about your life. This is about your freedom. It's about your happiness. You know, if you don't do that, you know.
Yeah,
you just,
roll the
and
dice.
really, there's no sevens, and you're not going to win.
Yeah.
You're right. What feels good with you? Going with that feeling inside of you. Always been like that. What's my gut feeling about everything?
Sure. Yeah. To know God is to be intuitive.
Yeah.
Know God, and you know, the people say, "Well, what's God to you?" You know, and I always feel like, you know, God for me is this. First of all, there's a great mystery that we can't identify. Our pea brains aren't able to conceptualize what God is. That's ridiculous. So, but there's a great mystery that's everywhere, that's doing all this, you know. But this great mystery has three attributes. One attribute of generation, it generates form, it operates the form, G-O, and it dissolves the form back into itself again. It generates this form out of the mystery, it operates that form, and then it dissolves the form back, G-O-D. So that's when I say God, I say it's this process of generating, operating, and dissolving back into the great mystery. You know, when I talk with God, I talk about that. And really, the Hindu said it's Om, in the Buddhist Om, A-U-M, is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Generation, operation, dissolution.
Oh, okay. Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. But, you know, and Om is, you know, just the word. There's four parts to Om, A-U-M, and then silence. It's the fourth part. So as we exhale, in this quiet, the silence, that's back to the great mystery.
I see. Yeah.
So this is the process that we're in. You know.
So when you say you're a solitary monk, does it literally mean solitary, like you are by yourself? No.
I was for 3 years. I lived in a small little house. I shared it with my brother. But we had a wall up. It was a one-room house with a little bathroom, little kitchen, little front porch. But we put a wall in between us, and we had opposite living environments. And they always looked at me like an Abby Hoffman. He was like a Clint Eastwood.
Well, are you not allowed to communicate? I mean, there's a little bit of mysticism about monks and what really happens.
No.
Going
Monks, you know, a solitary monk is just like I'm going to obey these vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. I didn't really watch TV, didn't listen to news, didn't read the newspapers. You know. I lived a very quiet and solitary life. I didn't work. I lived on, back then, maybe you might remember the CETA program. Remember the government used to give money and try to get people to go to work, but there was a lot of unemployment back in the 70s, early 70s. And so I just got unemployment and $22 a week that I lived on. That's unbelievable when I go and I get half a bag for $50 now. But I lived on $22 a week. And I just went for walks every day. I meditated, prayed, and I developed my own religion from within inside myself, what made sense to me. After almost 3 years, I decided I needed to have a reflection back to me, because as I was nightly writing about what I was realizing, what I was seeing, what was happening to me, asking questions about myself, I realized that I didn't have a mirror, that I could be in delusion for all I knew. But even though it looked very beautiful, so there was a Hindu ashram that I knew of in New Haven, Connecticut. And so I started going down there, going to satsang, spiritual discourse. And then I applied to be accepted. And I was, and I stayed there for 5 years. And then I had 12 brothers.
12?
Yeah.
Oh,
in the ashram. That we had satsang every night, and we did hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of meditation. And mandatory 2 hours, mandatory at least 2 hours a day. The weekends sometimes 6, 7 hours. So it was a beautiful lifestyle, and
if you like solitary reflection.
Yeah. Well, I still do that.
As an outsider, what would you say would be the reason to do something like that? From me, because I could survive not talking to anybody. I don't feel like I could.
Yeah, because we have an addiction towards our thought process and expressing ourselves. But the minute, like if you give up cigarettes, it takes a long time to give up that addiction, or drugs or alcohol.
Habits.
But giving up the addiction of talking. Once you have a day of silence, you go, oh my God, this is awesome. I found myself again. No distractions. Imagine no distractions. Imagine not having to talk and converse with people, saying, I need this and I need that. That your food's cooked for you. Generally, there's a house mom in the ashram. They do all the cooking. You do a service. I used to have to clean the toilets for a number of years. Then I became house father, which is looked at as the same. It's just like, your service is your service. There's no ego involved. Sometimes you're cleaning the toilets, and sometimes you're telling the brothers what to do, It doesn't make a difference, And it's I think everybody should experience that for a duration of time in their life. Just to come back into that joy that they're looking for on the outside. You find it. It's just being quiet, being reflective, being in meditation, being in prayer. It's renewing. It's just phenomenal.
Doesn't your thoughts go crazy at first? I mean, you're constantly thinking, and then the meditation helps to calm that down, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, meditation is, a lot of people think meditation is like a magic pill. You take it in the morning, and then, you do it, and then you go on. For me, meditation, and I was taught by a wonderful master, and it was just, you constantly meditate. You don't leave the pillow behind, or you don't leave the meditation on your pillow. You take the meditation off the pillow, and you walk with it, you talk with it, you eat with it, you work with it.
Do they teach you how to do, if somebody were interested in doing something like that, someone watching, do they teach you how to meditate? I've tried many times to meditate, and I can't quiet down. I just can't.
Yeah, it's probably just because it's,
there's a lot going on up there.
What you focus on, you become. If you love something, you'll gravitate towards that. If you love your life and you love who you are and you want to get more of who you are, meditation will come easier for you. It becomes very easy if we just let go of our attachments and our aversions to our egos. And just abide, do deep abiding within your own heart, within your own breath. The word spirit, I grew up Roman Catholic, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The word spirit comes from the Latin word spiro, which means to breathe. And the Father, the Son, and the Holy Breath. What happens when we go into emotions and thoughts? We hold our breaths, we get angry, and we kind of like this, It's that free flow of breathing, of breath. It's not the breath, it's within the breath, the energy, the prana within the breath, the life force within the breath, to allow it to move through you at all times. And so we do that on the pillow, but then when we move off the pillow, we don't lose track of that. We do, but we come back. Then we come back, and we come back 1,000, 1 million times. Doesn't make a difference. Just whenever you realize you're away, you come back, and you go, yes, my home.
Get peace inside you.
Do you feel peace? Do you feel like why you're here? and what you're doing, and why you're here, and that kind of thing. Like a lot of people say they're lost. They don't know why they're here on this planet, what they're supposed to do.
What's the meaning of life?
What's
things
the meaning
like that.
of life? All that stuff. Do you feel like it helped you to, or were you even seeking that? Or,
You know, it wasn't so much, you know, what I wanted to do in the world, because I realized I could never be successful. I mean, look at Donald Trump. In a way, he feels successful, but in a way, he also is feeling a failure also. How much do you need, you know, even President of the United States, you know, with a 10 wife, you know, and a daughter who's this and that, and he's got Trump everywhere, you know, and blessings to him, he's my brother, you know. But I see a suffering individual there because there's no rest, there's no peace.
Yeah, it's
So-
right. It's really hard. Yeah.
So you have to look at that and say, what am I chasing first? Am I chasing all this stuff outside here? Or do I need to find that, well, let the Christians say, that kingdom or that bliss inside or that beauty inside? You know, the Hindus say that our true essence is Satchidanand, truth, consciousness, and bliss. That out of truth, consciousness, and bliss comes everything, you know. But we cloud it with all of our thoughts, with our emotions, with our fears, with having to be someone. We are that already. If you can let go of trying to be something, you know.
I don't think anyone in Washington's figured that one out
No.
yet.
If you let go of that,
Let alone
you
us.
find out, well, hey, I'm there already. This is it.
Yeah.
It's not a mystical thing, though we call it mysticism. You know, it's kind of like, or sacred. It's kind of like I was kind of appalled when I first became a vegetarian, and you know, trying to find good food, and all of a sudden they started coming out with things called health food stores and health food. And I was saying, whoa, isn't food supposed to be healthy? That's kind of crazy, you know. But I realized that like, now we've got to call sacred life, or the thing that's sacred within us. Why do we have to call that sacred? Because that's our natural state. That's our natural state. It's a natural state. We call it sacred now because we're so crazy that we have to designate this place inside of us as something apart from the craziness. But that's our true nature. And the Buddha said that's the Buddha nature. That's your nature. That's the Tao. That is the way to enter into the process of life. You are what you are. You are what you need to be. You're everything. You are the light of the world.
Yeah.
The light's within you.
Most people aren't taught that, unfortunately, when they come in here and they don't, when they're born here and they don't understand that, so they don't know where to go.
No, and it's difficult because, you know, a lot of people, even, you know, well-meaning people, they want to be very spiritual, they want to be known as spiritual.
They want to be known, yeah.
And, you know, that's a trip also.
It is.
You know? That's a trip also.
Exactly.
Be yourself, you know?
Yeah.
You know, learn to
I
love
try
yourself.
to convey that. I try to convey that
yeah.
a lot, but it's difficult. And I've realized that, and especially in doing this show and trying to pass on some knowledge of spirituality to help people to get where they are, people are very strongly opinionated in their beliefs.
Yeah.
And if you try to tell them anything outside of that, they're ironclad. They don't want to open their mind.
It's an attachment, and people like to hold on to attachment because sometimes it gives there's a gain from it. They don't feel lost, and so they'll hold on
that's true.
desperately.
Yeah.
You know, and that's but we go through those things. That's okay. It's just. You know, when I say, you know, love yourself, people say, well, how do you do that? You know, well, I'm going to go out and get a manicure. You know, it's like, well, yes, but no. But that's not, you know, it's just kind of like, well, then who are we? We're like the apple. Who are you? Am I Greg? Is that who I am? You know, do I want to take care of Greg's body, this body, and then I'm loving myself? I'm loving myself when I can reside within inside my heart. That's when Greg can reside in the heart. Greg disappears. That's it there.
When you get to the point, like with me, you get to the point where your life, it's good, it's nice, but that happiness, that real happiness that you want to find, and all the unanswered questions, like you say about spirituality, all the unanswered questions and that you need answers to, and you're not getting it. I mean, like you say, you can buy a house or a car, you can get a new this, you can get a new that, and it's just a temporary. And then what's next? And then until finally you realize none of those things are going to give me happiness, none of them. And you have to go out and find it. And people have what they call spiritual awakenings, but you have to search for that, right? You have to. Yeah, you have to. And so what do you, if someone comes to you, what do you do? Why would they come to you for help?
For these same questions. I mean, I've been, I had a woman come to me. She said, I've been meditating for 30 years. I'm as miserable now as I have ever been. Nothing's ever changed, So, but also people, they're going through divorce, or they're going through hardships, or they just feel like, nothing's happening in my life. I've gotten all this stuff. I get a guy who came in recently, and he very successful man, 70 years old, and, wants to retire, and this has been gnawing at him his whole life. Yeah, he did all this. He's got a lot of money, and it's just, what? Is this it?
So you spiritually counsel?
I'm a mentor, yes.
That's what I do when I do therapy with people.
Sure.
Talk to them about the world, but also spiritual, because you can't do one without the other.
No.
There's no way.
No, you can't. And so I try to ground them, first and foremost, in a very grounding meditation. This is your foundation. This is where we begin. Everything plays off of this, everything. So I tell them the most important thing up front of how to be in touch with their own heart and not to leave it.
Do most people have a sense of what they really love inside themselves? Like what's really important to them?
They have a sense for it, but they don't understand it. They don't really, just because a lot of times desires and aversions, fears, they're just too much in the way.
Yeah.
They're just too much. And so we get dictated by our fears, by this box, this thing that we create inside this box, and you can't function in there. It's the hell realm. It's the hell realm.
Eckhart Tolle, I'm reading his books. I've read a long time ago, but I'm rereading. You get so much more when you reread. It's all about the ego, like you just said, about the ego and how it gets in the way with everything all the time. Those voices all the time. Yeah, it's right. Yeah. That's a good read. Yeah. So, you're saying the roots of spirituality and religion, the birth and expansion of spiritual human consciousness. Okay, so what is that? The roots of spirituality and religion. What do you want to tell us about that? It's per se, and the birth and expansion of human consciousness.
Yeah, well, we are the root. The shamanic experience is the root. Shaman is a term from the Tunzik-speaking people in Siberia, and it means generally to heat and to expand.
To heat and expand, okay.
Yeah. And so when we start heating and expanding our internal life, we start seeing things differently. Consciousness starts shifting. We start getting closer to Satchidanand, truth, consciousness, and bliss. And so what's important the day before is no longer important. You have different priorities. You understand really quickly that boundaries are your friend, that there's no freedom without strict boundaries. Boundaries of ethics and morals, and these things that all traditions talk about, that these things are now your friends. When you're in the 60s, we wanted freedom, and that meant all this stuff, just throw it all out the window, But no boundaries. But in the spiritual life, you realize that the boundaries are your best friend. They're like the banks of the river. And you are a river trying to get to that ocean. And really, you are the ocean, you are the water. Just we don't realize it yet. We think we're far away from it, So we want those banks nice and high, to help us, not to judge others, just to make sure that we stay wet, that we stay in that middle of that river, which is taking us. We don't have to do much. We just stay in the river, And so consciousness starts moving. And like I said before, the shamanic world is when you become alive and aware of that the universe is alive. That not only are you walking in the woods and you're seeing the trees are also seeing you.
That's right.
The trees. The rocks are there. That everything has a form of awareness, a form of being. Because where is God not?
I've always felt that way. Even
You know?
since I was a kid, I've always felt everything has a spirit in it.
I think to explain it to people, kind of, I don't know, you correct me or you fill in whatever, that the same thing God made us with, He also made the brooks and the trees and the water and the apples and everything else. We're all part of that. It's the same material, so to speak, right?
Yeah, we are that.
Right.
Our physical body is the elements.
Yep.
You think you have to eat our vitamins and minerals. The minerals are the rocks. Mm-hmm. The vitamins are our skin. The vegetables. Vitamins and minerals, and the water is our blood. We are 78% or something water.
Yeah.
Our blood and lymph fluid. Our saliva. We're water. We are the vegetables we eat. We are the rocks. We are the wind. We are the fire in our gut. The winds in our breath. I mean, we are this. We have come out of the earth. We have sprung out of the earth, just like the plants have sprung out of the earth. So are we.
Right.
This body has. But this body's going to go back. But the energy which moves through all this can never be created, will never be destroyed.
Our spirit,
that continues on forever.
Right. Spiritual goes
and there
on
has
forever.
a consciousness to that.
We are spirit, right? Exactly.
And this is how, when you go through and start working with the spirits, you work more and more with them, you realize that at some point the many become a few. And then the few become one. That the white light, as you refract it, now we get all these colors. But you take the colors and start moving them back. You see there's just really one source. And so our path work is to try to understand that source, to live within it, and then to enjoy the color, but not to hold on.
The source being God?
Yeah.
Right.
The great mystery, great perfection.
When we talked about the fact that all the trees and the water and the air and everything, it's all part of us. And it came to my mind that just like the animals, they're part of us, right? Because they're made from the same thing. So every time someone kills an animal or eats an animal, we're destroying a part of ourselves.
Yeah, the thing is that we also have a right to live. We also have a right to, this nature lives off itself. Like the Ouroboros dragon lives off its own tail. We have the right to live, but we as human beings should understand who we are by self-analysis. We should see what diet is really true for us, and we are basically vegetarian creatures. By the way our systems are set up, by the way that our jaws move horizontally, they grind, they don't chop, we don't have sharp teeth, we don't have claws, we have things that pick, and that can dig up roots. Our whole system is set up to be vegetarian. Plus we also feel, unless we have to eat meat, which there are times we had to in the ice ages, and sometimes when we're struggling in the villages of Native Americans, there are times that they just, but they would honor them.
You're right, they would honor them.
They would be like, okay, I honor you. I will sing a song for you. I will put you in a seat during the meal, And so there's reciprocity.
It's true. And then the animal gives itself to the people willingly and gladly to help to nurse the people because of the honor, because of the understanding.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
So we relate to each other. We realize no one's above.
Right.
No one's below. We're all in this together trying to live.
Exactly.
And so even before they would go kill the animals, they would pray for the animals. The shaman would always pray and see where the animals were. And in the spiritual world, they would try to see and ask them permission. Please come to us, we need a few of your people, And then you give offerings to them. So it's a totally different thing. But what the tragic thing that's going on now is like, we would take our children to see a farm, vegetable gardens, and say, this is where we get our food. We go pick strawberries, go pick corn, we go pick apples. But do we ever take them to the slaughterhouse? Do we ever take them to see what happens? Because the amount of, it was almost like watching the gassing of those children there in Syria.
Oh,
Serious.
that was heartbreaking.
You go in, you start seeing animals, what happens to them, where they're locked
But
in
they
cages.
won't show that because
they will
it's
not show that.
so much money.
And then the people who do it won't. Yeah, that's right. The people
And
would need,
so it's
many people would
heartless.
stop. Yeah.
Plus, it's also creating a huge proportion of our pollution. The raising animals. It's a huge waste of resources. Huge.
Exactly.
Huge. It's
Yeah.
it's almost at the par of fuel, of gas and coal and stuff. The amount of damage it's doing to the environment.
It is.
Just meat eating alone. If we would stop meat eating, we would save the planet 40% of its pollution, probably at least. A good portion anyway. 35,
It's true.
40%.
It's true. People just don't realize that.
No, I've talked to people about that, and I had one female tell me straight out, God gave me teeth so that I could eat meat. We're supposed to eat meat. That's the way we were born. And I'm like, well, you really believe that? And she's like, absolutely, with
Yeah.
all my heart. And I'm like, well, okay. I don't know what else to say to that.
I know it's difficult, but this is something that I started. I was vegetarian in 1973. I started, and it's been difficult because I've tried to speak up, and the same thing.
Yeah.
People, it's okay.
People are so strong.
My
opinion.
brothers and my sisters, and but so are the animals. So I say what I can say, but I still want to love everybody. It's just like it dawns when it dawns. That's all.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It dawns when it dawns.
Is it safe to say that do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Do you have a sense of why you incarnated here? Do you feel like you came to be a teacher to help people, or?
It's just my path work. It's just I needed to be here. It's not an ego thing.
Path
It's
work.
not. Some people say, "Oh, I chose to be." I didn't choose the thing. I'm just in the river. It's taking me and it's put me here. It's put me in this body, and it's just like, okay, so this is my lessons this lifetime, and this is my last life. I have no idea. I don't care if it is or isn't. It's not my concern. My concern is to be present here now, to love you guys as much as I can, to love everybody, to have compassion and try to have understanding, And really sometimes loving is saying no. People say, oh, be kind. Sometimes that's not love.
Right, right.
Sometimes
Just
it's
enabling.
you're just enabling, Sometimes it's no. So that's how you do the best you can do.
That's what I always say about God when you're praying to God. Sometimes the answer is no from God. Why? Because it's not good for you at this time.
Yeah.
Trust that. See that, but they don't. When people
When you force
pray,
your will, that's when things
yeah,
just don't.
exactly. When people pray, they expect an answer and they expect it to happen. When it doesn't happen, they blame and say, "Well, he didn't do this for me, or that didn't happen. He didn't save my husband or my child or anything like that." They say all that, but everything I believe everything happens for a reason, and the reason is for your spiritual growth, and you have to leave that. You have to go ahead. You're gonna say something.
No, that's beautiful, because a few years ago a woman came to me and she said, I believe that nothing happens to you, it happens for you. Everything
Exactly.
happens for you. And I went,
Right.
that's beautiful. I'm going to use that. And she said, go ahead.
That is,
So
that's true.
Everything happens for us.
I try to remember that when I get frustrated and
Yeah.
things are
Yeah.
happening that I really can't feel like I can't I don't have a handle on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
Yeah, here it is. It's my lesson. Let me see. Oh, I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. Just forget it. Just learn here.
right.
Learn,
Right.
Oh, something turned out pretty good. Oh, learn that. What happened there? It's not like you got to carry a sign around and saying, I'm a good guy, I'm a bad guy, I failed, and I'm a sinner, or you're all going to rot in hell, turn or burn. You don't have to do that stuff, It's just,
You're right.
So let it go. It's just,
And,
No-
and you know what? We're laughing. Life is like that. You got to see the funny side of it. You've got to laugh
Yeah.
in the face of whatever happened. You've got to see all that, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what it's all
The
about.
Buddhists have a great saying: joyful participation in the suffering of the world, even your own suffering.
Even your own.
And that means you have that perspective. You have the view of like, yes, we have human form. There's suffering in this
Yeah.
form. There's a form of suffering here. There's pain. People die, and things happen. But when you realize that we're not an apple, that we're much more than that, there's a little smile. My guru used to say, he's just like, he says it's like a smile that comes, it's an inner smile that maybe people can't see on the outside, but you just feel with inside your heart, and that just, you feel your lips just, it's almost like the cat that got the canary in a way, and I don't like using it, but you know, it's just like, it's okay. Everything passes. Nothing stays the same.
That's true.
That's right.
Don't hold on to it. Learn what you can learn. Move along.
Move along. You're
Move
right.
along. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say to our audience out there, how many of you would love to have inner peace, would love to find the meaning of life, would love to have that happiness in your heart all the time, no matter what, no matter if you win or you lose or you get this or you don't get that, find the happiness that you need, right, inside. And the only way you're going to find it is by going within. It's never out there. It's always in here, right?
That's where the rubber meets the road in a way. You know, it's really doing self-analysis, a big part of that, but also learning a very good meditation, one that suits you. You know, like some people feel like, you know, they've got a god they want to pray to, some say a goddess, you know, and that feels right to them. That's your path. Some say it's Jesus, some say it's Mary, some say it's Krishna, it's Shiva, it's, you know, whomever it could be, you know. It's the Buddhist way. That's fine. But just investigate, go deep. Sit down and be quiet. Learn how to go within and to hold that space. Because that space, you know, we try to keep that focus. The focus leads to concentration. Concentration leads to meditation. Meditation leads to samadhi, and samadhi leads to absorptions, where like you become, you are all things. That when you get absorbed, there's nothing left. There's no ego identity. It's just like, whoa. And that's when they say, you know, the heaven within inside, you know, or that nirvana, when everything gets snuffed out. The flame of desire for the world gets snuffed. You know, those experiences burn through you, and you can never forget them. They change your life forever, you know. So unless you try to go deeply, you know, and if you know, just living in your head about it's not gonna work. I had a wonderful guy come in to see me today. He's a musician. And I said, so how you doing? Are you doing meditation? He said, oh, yeah, I've been so busy at work. He said, but I'm practicing throughout the day. And I said, oh man, I can't tell you how good that makes me feel. Because people say, oh, I didn't do meditation today. Okay. The whole day? You couldn't stop and be focused as you went along? Of course you could. So please listen, that you can be there all the time. And that's, meditation wasn't just supposed to be in a pillow. It's throughout the day. It's when you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing that should be happening to you. When you go to sleep at night, you should go to sleep in it. It's your refuge. It's who you are. You know, find that beauty that's inside of you. Boy, I tell you, it makes a huge difference.
And the meditation helps you to get answers and quiet. And I feel there's always spirit around trying to help and teach us, but we can't hear them because we're busy all the time. But if we're quiet, we can hear, you know?
Yeah, there's a Christian mystic, and he wrote a book called The Thunder of Silence. And, there's Goldstein, and The Thunder of Silence. And yes, it's in the silence that you get huge insights.
Right.
Not
That's
about
it.
your ego. You get huge insights.
Insights, right.
And it just puts your world together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gives you the answers that you've been looking for out there.
Right.
They're not out there. You'll never find them out there. It's in here that you'll find them by the meditation.
It's a lot of pleasure out there. I mean, I can go to Pepe's Pizza. I love Pepe's Pizza.
Have fun, yeah.
But I'm there, after half an hour, it's done.
Right.
Then I go to Libby's to get a cannoli.
Yeah.
That's right.
But then that's done.
That's
and then
right.
what? And then I gain a little weight. And, all right.
Yeah, well, we're not talking don't enjoy the pleasures of the world. Enjoy them by all means.
But that's there. But I'm just saying, keep in perspective.
Right.
What kind of happiness are we looking for?
Right.
What is happiness?
What is happiness?
There you go. The Buddhists have something called
That's
the four immeasurables, and they say you should wish this for yourself and for all beings. And it goes, may all beings have happiness and the roots of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the roots of suffering. suffering. May all beings abide with the supreme joy which is beyond all sorrow. And may all beings abide with an equanimity free from attachments and aversions. That fourth one is the key. Everything else leads out to that. But I tell people, I wish happiness for Donald Trump. And they go, no, because if he had true happiness, the happiness of his own heart, he wouldn't be functioning the way he's functioning. So instead of hating people, instead of saying, I hate this guy, I can't wait till he gets out of office, wish him true happiness. Wish that he's free of his own suffering, which he's creating. If he was free from his suffering, he'd be looking at the world totally different. You know?
I don't think he has. I mean, with the way people are, you can't make one decision or another. There isn't going to be any one body of people that are ever going to agree with anything. So when you're in a position like that, you're being pushed and pulled in all these different directions, and no matter what you say or do that you think is the best for anybody, I mean, even Obama too, whatever you say or do that you think is the best for the people, you're always going to have opposition.
Sure.
And how do you quiet yourself from that? I don't think in that position you can. I really don't.
It's just being quiet. It's just like, you wish I did it for George Bush, I did it for Obama, I did it for the presidents, I do it for my kids, I wish them happiness, I wish everybody happy. It's just like, my meditation, I'll go, usually who's in my field that day, I'll wish them happiness, wish that they're free of suffering. This is not one more than the other, it's just the world. May my cats have happiness.
I wish my cats had happiness.
May they all beings have, all sentient beings have that happiness, And because, the happiness isn't about eating Pepe's pizza, I mean, in a way, you can say, well, it makes me happy, but it's a pleasure. And it's fine to have pleasures, but understand a pleasure is fleeting. Boom, it's here, it's gone.
Right.
I know. I just want to say one last thing because we have to close. We're talking to you. It goes, time just goes zoop.
I could talk a lot.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Talk to my wife.
Yeah, right. With our president, President Trump, I mean, all I say is, he is the president. And instead of sending him all the negativity and all the arrows and all the darts, why don't we send him love, send him good wishes, send him well-being so he can do the job that we want for him to do for us and everything. We're not going to get what we want by sending him all this awful stuff. So, and no matter who is up there and leading, that's what should be sent. All right, we have to give our contact information right now. So it's been so good. I hate to end this. I want to keep talking and talking.
I was going to ask you if you could suggest a book or any way for someone to get started just to learn and to meditate.
I don't like books in meditation, teaching meditation. I think meditation needs to be something where you can ask questions, and you should have a mentor for meditation.
Okay. All right. We have to close, sweetheart.
Okay.
And we're going to give our contact information now.
I don't want to.
I know, me neither. To get in touch with Gregory Besek, the centerpole.com is your website, but it's under construction, right?
It'll be up in a month.
In a month, okay. And his email is thecenterpole@aol.com. And his phone number, which he graciously gives us, is 860-552-9095. Okay, and for us, me, Rosemary Lachance, my phone number is 203-627-7966. Email whitebuffalo8@comcast.net. My website, www.rosemarylachance.com.
And for me, myself, Dina Scungio, you can email me at freewind1@comcast.net. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter under D. Scungio.
And all our shows are on YouTube. So tune in and watch them all. And you'll see Gregory there. Gregory.
That was a pleasure.
Oh, it was
Thank
so
you
wonderful.
much.
Maybe you
It's
can
good
come
to
back
see you.
again another time?
Whenever you want. I'd love to come back and talk to you
All right,
both.
we're going to have him back. We got so much more to talk about.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you so much. It was
Thank
wonderful
you. It's
talking
wonderful
with you.
meeting you. Okay.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we'll say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
And God bless.
Mwah.
And be at peace.
Peace.
And
Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.